What is up, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new episode. I personally am super excited about this episode. I have Smiles with Kyle, or also known as Kyle, today on the podcast. He is part of the LGBTQ community. He is a social media content creator and a social media content manager for AN Skincare. He just kind of does it all. So get ready. He has a story for y'all. So is anything before we start off topic you don't want said?
I'm an open book.
Perfect. So obviously I want to get in with you. First of all, I need to introduce you. This is Kyle, and I know him as Smiles with Kyle off of Instagram because that's where I met him because he's an ambassador. Would you say you're an ambassador or more of a manager for AN Skincare?
Yeah, so I'm an ambassador manager / influencer manager.
Okay, so that's how I met you, through the AN Skincare line. And then we had a FaceTime phone call. And then I was like, oh my God, you need to be on the podcast. Your personality, your life, everything is just amazing. Like, I just want to pick you up and pack you in my pocket and take you everywhere because I feel like your positivity is just out there. And like, I could use that because I'm always like, negative Nancy over here.
It's hard not to feed into that sometimes, especially in today's society. It's everywhere.
Yeah. So how would you introduce yourself? Because so obviously I wanted you on because you're part of the LGBTQ community. I want to hear your background, your story, and then go from there to how you got where you are. Cause you're like social media manager. You teach people social media. You're a content creator. You're an influencer. You're a manager for AN ambassador. You're doing it all. So how would you introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name's Kyle. First of all, that was such a beautiful introduction and I appreciate you for that.
Well, thank you.
Of course. So that's, it's funny that you say that because I grew up obviously gay and I grew up I essentially knew, I feel like, my entire life. And it really didn't come to surface until I was in 7th grade when people were talking about it and they this is when social media was kind of getting big and we were seeing other gay people on these platforms like MySpace and Facebook. And I was like, I think that's me. But all of my friends, I was at a Catholic school at this time.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So everybody is not thinking that the gay way is the right way. And there's no right way, right? Mm-hmm. And it really was freaking me out. I was like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Am I messed up? Is something wrong with me? And actually, my 8th grade year, we had a very small class. There was about 100 of us in our graduating class. And there was another boy in my class who was gay in the closet as well. And this was my first person I ever sparked interest in. I was like, ooh, I want them. They were also my best friend. And that was my first gay experience. I mean, not even gonna lie, just throwing it all out there. We were we were dating girls in our class. And we would go and we would hang out with them at the mall. And then we would go home after the mall and we would do our thing. And it was this was my first introduction to being gay, whatever. And then from there, the next year, my freshman year of high school, I came out. And I never felt better. I was a freshman and I went to a public school instead. So switching over from the private to the public was kind of a breath of fresh air. And I think is what really pushed me to be more comfortable with coming out. Mm-hmm. My family was just waiting kind of thing. We knew it and we're going to love you no matter what, but we're not going to push you to say or do anything. And, from there, I really never have had any negative experiences. I take everything with a grain of salt, given that the structure of my LGBTQ journey was so negative, and then it only went up from there. So I just dodge any kind of negativity that comes my way nowadays. And so it's been great.
Where did you grow up first? Because obviously I'm in the South and I can't say that I've ever seen a negative experience with any of my gay friends, but I know it's here because they've told me their experiences. So where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, so you've always lived there.
Always lived here, born and raised, would love to be somewhere else eventually. But the gay scene here it is a bigger thing.
Okay.
But there's, so say for example, like I'm in the city right now. The city, it's like poppin'. But then you go to the county suburbs and it's like gay who, you know?
Yeah. So you said you always knew you were gay, and that's something that's obviously controversy nowadays. People say, no, it's a learned behavior versus you always know. But I truly think that you know who you are and how you feel, just like when you're little and you're playing like teacher or nurse or whatever, you know what you want to be when you grow up versus what someone's telling you you have to be from your family, right?
Yes.
So how did you know, like in what age did you think I'm different? There's something different about me?
Yeah, of course. So I would say it was probably in like second grade that
Okay.
I realized it, because my PE teacher, I was so attracted to him. And
Okay.
but also, I'm telling you right now, I came out of the womb and I was playing with Barbie dolls and doing the Polly Pockets before I was even one. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to put the heels on. I wanted to make sure that I could hear my heels tapping in the hallway when I would walk. Like there was no question.
Yeah. So that brings up a conversation because me and my friends were talking the other day on a podcast about parenting and how it used to be you cannot play with that to a little boy. Like you cannot play with a Barbie, you cannot play with heels, but it's okay for little girls to play with GI Joes and whatnot. So were your parents just accepting of that and said, you know what, it's a toy, play with it. If it soothes you, if it makes you happy, go for it?
Yes, my mom gave me all the Barbie dream houses, the Polly Pocket houses. I had the pools. My first day of kindergarten, I came to kindergarten with a little castle that was pink and it had all my Polly Pockets in it. And my mom was like, you know what? Yes, of course I'm worried, but like the people who are gonna love him and the people that need him and things like that, like they're gonna accept him. And she ran with it. She let me do what I wanted to.
I think that's amazing that you had such supportive parents. And obviously that built you to this foundation that you have of confidence. Do you have any friends or have you been in a relationship with any men that had it different where they kind of went back and forth in their head? Like, I don't know if I should be doing this because of their upbringing.
Yes, so many, so many. I mean, so I actually have not had many gay friends.
Okay.
It's I don't know what it is. I just haven't. I'm not opposed to it. But a lot of people that I do talk to in the community, they have really, really bad backgrounds. And my personal experience with my ex-boyfriend, the pretty much the only like real relationship I've had, he just dealt with a lot of trauma from his upbringing and his family not accepting him. Like, he told his family that he was gay,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, yo, no, you're not. Like, we need to get you into church. We need to figure out like what's going on with you. Like, we can make this to where you're not having these thoughts anymore. And it's like, okay, like that's not a thing.
No.
And 2 years later, after coming out, having your family trying to come back into your circle and say, we're gonna accept you, we're gonna do this. And it's hard for people to build that trust and that relationship with the people that they're supposed to love, that are supposed to be their family, after they were at this certain point and now they're trying to get back into their lives. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I do want to retract what I said a minute ago. I was thinking in my head, I said, what made you think you were different? That's inappropriate. You're not different. Love is love. Like, I'm just saying, like, we should stop saying things like that. You're different. You're not different. You love who you love. So we're the same because we still love,
That's true. That's actually a really good point, because I always tell people, I'm like, I'm just different, but like,
but you're not
right.
different.
I'm not different.
You just love who you love.
Okay, like look at you, like giving me a little influence right now. I'm like, I love this.
No, it's just like I'm trying to do better. Like we all need to try to do better because we need to have these hard conversations and just sit down. And I mean, obviously it's uncomfortable. You're asking people about their sexuality, their gender, their race, but those conversations need to be had so we can learn so that we're not saying things that are inappropriate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Speaking of inappropriate, so what terms are inappropriate? Because I was trying to look up some things and I didn't know if I should call you a gay male or homosexual, but I actually learned that homosexual is actually more offensive, apparently.
Really?
That's what I've found in my research, that people do not like being called homosexual, even though I guess that's more of the medical term. I guess because you like the same thing.
Yes. I mean, that makes sense. Like I honestly never hear homosexual. So
Yeah.
that's probably why, like
Yeah.
because like homophobe is something that people say a lot. So like if you put homo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
do kind of just put a bad taste in people's mouths. And just don't use the F word. That's the only
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a bad one. Like, that's a bad one.
But kind of going, and like you mentioned before, sorry, like you guys will also learn ADD brain. Like my mind is going a million miles
So
per
does mine.
minute. That's why we're good at what we do, right? Because
Yeah. I always have to interrupt somebody. I'm like, wait, let me say this before my mind goes somewhere else.
amen.
Yeah.
And so my ex with his trauma and everything, like we were together for 3 years and he had a lot of trauma. Like his dad was not in his life. He was sexually abused and from his father whenever he was a child. And that's another topic. Like a lot of people think, hey, like those certain situations or those experiences that you may have had, like you might be gay because your dad molested you.
Yeah.
And that really messed with him. And he, took it out on me essentially. And I was in a very, very abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was an alcoholic, just doing all these different coping mechanisms to help just feel numb. And after I escaped that relationship, I just looked around and just noticed the community of people, the gay community around me. And like so many of them have this trauma, these issues, and they rage or they like go and they get drunk and do all these things, like put these crop tops on and they're like doing this thing because they're like essentially like coping with their trauma in a way. And it's not wrong necessarily, but I think all those layers, they are like trying to feel like they're proving themselves all the time, or they might not always do things in the right way. And it's sad. It's sad.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And you saying that like just by changing our words or, you're not different, or like just noticing these different things will hopefully break stereotypes and make people feel more comfortable. So they're not feeling like they're having to prove themselves or lash out angry or ugly.
So speaking of being like not different, we talk about, me and my friends, we always have these deep conversations and we talk about, it's funny because men, like women and men are supposed to be together to procreate, right? So women and men are very different. And we always talk to our female friends or whoever about how they don't get it. We want emotional connection. We want to sit on the couch and cuddle and love, but a man they want to have sex and they want to be physical touch. So one of my friends made a very good point, was like, why aren't we with women? Because women want emotional like feelings. So why aren't women and women together? Because they understand each other. And why aren't men and men together? Because they want physical touch.
Right.
If it wasn't for procreation.
Like yeah. And then there's someone like me who's like on that women's side. And I'm like, honestly, like I could be fine with not having sex for like 6 months. I'm like, please, like, I'd rather, and like, if we do, like, I will just lay here. Like, I'm not.
I love it. I love it.
And that's the problem too. It's like finding something genuine and like something good with all these raging gay men who are like, let's have sex, let's have sex, let's have sex. It's hard. It's hard. One who thinks like me.
Agreed. So what did you think? Did you follow the Colton, I don't know his last name, but The Bachelor, that when he came out in his storyline?
I followed it briefly because I just saw, oh, he's gorgeous.
Well, I mean, he is gorgeous. And like we always in our mind associate being gay with like being feminine, right? So he is not feminine at all. He played football. He's a very masculine man. So your brain kind of goes, well, how is this to be. But I mean, I think it's a good thing that he came out and did tell everyone. But he also went through a lot of trauma. I tried to watch his Netflix documentary. It just wasn't very good. I'm sorry. I tried to watch it.
I wouldn't even give it the time of day, honestly. Because it's a Bachelor overall. I mean,
yeah.
The guy in this past season actually went to my high school, and he's not all that in a bag of Cheetos.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, okay, when I heard he was on The Bachelor, I'm like, this show's going downhill. I mean, PH. And you can put this in the podcast. I don't care, because I vocalized my opinion about it. But
agreed.
Yeah, I seriously, like, I might check out that documentary now, because
I tried, and it wasn't that it was just like, you already kind of know where it was going. Maybe I should try again, but I literally gave it 5 minutes and I was like, I'm done.
So what, and if you don't mind just educating me, what is kind of a rundown of this story?
I'm not very sure. That's why I wanted to watch the documentary, but I know that he, went on The Bachelor. He's been in football. So he said that he didn't want to tell anyone. He actually got engaged to a girl and let her on for a long time. And then obviously came out to her and said he couldn't go through with the wedding and stuff like that. And then she and he stalked her too, for a while, something about he stalked her for a long time. And everybody was like, well, why did you stalk her if you're not really into women? So that was I don't know. I'm not very versed.
Demons to address. And it's probably even harder doing this in front of the whole entire world.
Well, for sure. You're having to have your coming out story in front of everyone.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, I'll be thinking about him. I'll be sending him my gay prayers, but.
But I mean, do you think it's harder nowadays? Because I think being gay is more socially accepted now. I think it's not that big of a deal anymore, because as our generation gets older, we're more accepting generation, I believe. And do you feel like people still have the coming out stories that are hard, or?
I think I do, but you're right. It is more socially acceptable nowadays. But I do also think that there's this layer where, people get this idea or an experimentation kind of thing. And everybody says they're gay or bi now. And I'm like, are you really?
Yeah.
Do you really know who you are? Because I see these people and they'll get out of a relationship with a man. And I'm noticing a lot with the lesbian community kind of thing. And they'll be dating a man. And then now they're like, I'm bi. I love me some girls. And they go through this little phase, and then they're dating men again.
Yep.
And it never happened. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I can get, wanting to play around or whatever and see what you like. Go, please do experiment. But don't blast yourself out there, because it's just, for me, it's we have felt like we've had to fight for our acceptance and our truth for so long. And it's kind of you're not this person. So don't put yourself as this person, because there's people who are actually fighting for their lives and their acceptance. And you're just over here, just using that to get some attention. That's what it comes off to me.
No, agreed. I was about to say it's more of an attention seeking thing. Oh, you don't want me? Well, look what I have, kind of thing. But like you just said, you did have to fight for so long, because people forget, just I had a conversation with another friend about the BLM movement. We forget it was not long ago when people were dying because of who they were. If you were a gay male, you were dying because people were like, you're not going to be with my son or whatever. You turned him gay, and you would die. And that wasn't very long ago. And we act like, oh, that was in the 1800s. It wasn't. It was 40, 50 years ago, maybe not even that long ago. So
sad.
I think that's just a good point to point out.
Yeah. And you can still get fired from a job in some places for your sexuality.
Are you serious?
Missouri's one of them.
What?
Yeah. So I was just actually on a call yesterday with an ambassador in the program, and she's gay, and she had just gotten fired from a hospital because they saw on her Instagram page that she was with another woman, and they said, okay, this is a Christian hospital and you just don't stand with our beliefs. And she got fired, and she went to go try to fight it. And it's it's legal in the state of Missouri, or in the state of Illinois too.
It's legal to fire someone for. So, when you get, I don't know if you know this, but like here, when we apply for jobs, it says like you have to, like, this is a no gender something. Like you have to, like, you don't have to submit your gender or if you're pregnant or your age or whatever. You don't have to submit any of that. Well, I think your age because they have to prove that you can work, but you don't have to, your ethnicity.
Right.
But then they ask for it and they say you don't have to answer, but then you can't move on to the next page if you don't answer. But they say that they're not going to judge you based on these items. But do they? We don't know. So that's crazy.
We all right. It's sad, but we hopefully, I really do think we have made so many strides though, to where, yes, we can harp on, these effed up morals and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, we just need to know our truth and just keep bringing that light and that positivity, because I see so much of it. And that's why I've kind of gotten in this place where I am now, where I just want to give to other people. I want to keep pouring into other people, because yes, we can keep looking back. We can keep addressing all of this shittiness happening, but like, it's not going to do us any good. And we'll fight when we need to fight, but like, just keep being a light.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I want to bring up something you posted on your Instagram the other day, which it was going to be a question for you. So you posted you went for a pedicure, your first pedicure. So go ahead and tell the people who don't follow you on Instagram what happened with that pedicure. He had his first pedicure.
And it was an experience. I mean, we go to this fancy salon, and when I walk into a salon and I see a bar, I'm like, okay, this is fancy.
A bar? So, alcohol, pedicure? Bar. Okay.
Yeah, with a bartender, not just like the employees going to grab stuff. There was a bartender. So I'm like, this is bougie. I'm like, not, I'm like, wait till they like take my socks off. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, you need all the help. So we go, and right before, more of a little background, the person that I was meeting there, Ashley, she's my boss, my best friend, and she just gotten rear-ended. We were all like, oh, are you okay? She just had her baby in the car. Everybody was feeling off. So the girls go and they get their, what is it called when you get your fingers done?
Manicure.
So they're getting a manicure. And then Coleman, Ashley's husband, and I are standing behind Ashley and her friend. And they're like, why don't you just go like start your pedicures and we'll meet you over there when we're done. Great. So we go, we sit down, and the lady's like, do you want to look over the menu? And we see 24 karat magic, 24K magic. And I'm like, oh, some Bruno Mars. I'm like, yes, let's do that one, Coleman. He's like, yep, that's the one Ashley does. There were two 24 karat magics. There was one for pedicures and one for manicures. The one for manicures was $60 and the one for pedicures was $125. So when I first saw it, I was like, oh, $60, like we'll splurge a little bit. We got this. The girls walk over. They're like, which one did you get? Coleman tells her. Ashley's like, that's $120. And he was like, what? She looks at me, which one did you guys get? Just confirming. The 24 karat magic, the one you always get. She was like, you guys better still have an hour left on those feet for $120. I couldn't believe it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, like maybe this is going to be like on them. It'll be like a cute little like treat yourself gift. Nope, I'm $125 broke.
You better have rubbed your feet with some gold. I've never in my life heard of a pedicure being $120.
I don't know what the hell that they were rubbing up on my feet. I had some stones. I had some liquids. I had some they were beating my legs. I was like, okay.
Same pedicure here is $60.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
If y'all could just see his face. That was so funny.
I look at my feet. I'm like, I could have done this myself.
Where I was going with that story, because I needed him to tell y'all the backstory. But while you were there on your Instagram story, you were holding Ashley's baby. And you said, I can't wait to be a dad someday. So being a gay male, you still want to be a father, obviously.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel about going, do you feel like you'll find a female that's a friend that will be a surrogate? Or do you feel like you'll go for an adoption route? How will you go about that?
Yeah, this is a really, honestly, a touchy subject for me. So I'm happy that you brought it up because it's something that I'm uncomfortable talking about. I personally would do anything that I needed to do. Yeah. I don't really I'm not leaning towards anything. right now, I haven't looked into it a lot. Like, I hear how hard it is for people to go through this adoption process or to get a surrogate and things like that. And, unfortunately, a lot of the times when you're going through this process, and say I was doing it alone or I was doing it with another male, we don't have as good of a chance of getting that baby. And I know that I have friends who like express things and they'll be like, I'll hold a baby for you. I'll carry a baby for you. I don't want to know the person who carried my child, because to be honest and to just be that person, like whenever I do have my baby, I don't want them to know that person really.
Yeah.
And that's fish kind of, but
no, it's
when
not.
yeah, when they're 18, they can go, and if they want to venture out and do that, they can. But like, I want them, that's my baby.
Yeah, agreed. And which is crazy that, and I mean, adoption's hard anyways in the US, which is mind boggling. Cause my friend, before she got pregnant, it was an accident. She didn't want to be pregnant on her own. She wanted to adopt because she's just a very giving person. She wanted to adopt. And she was like, she went through the course and everything. They are so strict about adoption, which I get in a way about the child, like the safety, whatever. But when it comes down to two loving parents and there's so many children to adopt, why the hell do you make it, number one, so expensive where people can't even do it? Or number two, these hoops you have to jump through is ridiculous. When you have two loving people or one loving person, like because I'm a single female, I can't adopt because I'm single. Even though I'm a nurse practitioner, I have good money, I could bring a very like child into this home. I live a good life. But you're single. How are you going to do this? Why does it matter?
Why does it matter? Like, go look at my bank statements too. It's like, if I can afford all this Lululemon and stuff, like I'll hold back on that and then I'll put that into my baby. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I'll make priorities. Like,
so I agree with you. Like I think that's crazy. And I hope that changes by the time that you want to have a child. Now, do you want to have a child with a partner, or are you saying like at certain age, like, I don't care if I have a partner, I want a baby?
I don't need a partner kind of thing. Like I mentioned, like my first relationship and only relationship was just so traumatizing. And these past 2.5 years have been just really unraveling all of that and just, coming to peace with what happened and also being able to move forward and letting that trust in to really trust other people so that I can, potentially find my person or whatever. But there's also so much doubt from that experience to where I want to be able, if I want a baby, I want to be able to do it by myself too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, it's the one thing I want to do is just, I want to be a dad more than anything. So,
well, if you want it bad enough, you're going to be it, because obviously if you manifest that into the future, it's going to happen. End of story.
Amen.
So speaking of meeting people, I know you said you've had trauma. I've actually went through a traumatic relationship. Like, I've really only had one relationship. I've dated other people, but I was in love with someone for like 10 plus years. And I didn't realize the emotional abuse that I was going through. I'm not saying that it was just on his side, but it was a very back and forth term. Like, and I'm here 34 years old, still single, and I'm still going through trauma with that, which I've finally got into therapy so that I can finally meet someone that will be good and not chase after I don't want to say abusive because it wasn't abusive, but just that, I can't think of the word, but
toxic.
Yes. Toxic. Like, I don't want to chase a toxic relationship.
Boys.
We do, don't we? We just love some toxic boys. So since you're working on yourself, but when you do start dating, where are you finding these men?
Oh, girl, I don't know. I have yet to find any. I mean, I go to the gay, if I went to the gay bars, for example, like, it's just, everybody here is just like trying to like, hey, like, let's take you home tonight kind of thing,
Yeah.
Everybody's so drunk and just like not like there. And then I have to, and I don't have to, but then I end up getting drunk because I'm like, I just need to like, what is going on right now? So like, I haven't even gone to those kind of places. And honestly, dating sites, like with, the trauma that you and I experienced as well, like you also, from all of that, naturally and organically just put a lot of doubt, and like you don't feel good about yourself. You're not as confident anymore. And when I'm out on these apps, for example, I just like, if someone doesn't like me back or they don't match with me, I like take it personally.
Yeah.
And also I just look at it and I'm like, there's so much more to look to where sorry about that.
That's okay.
There's so much more than just looks. And that's all people are getting on these apps. And I have put it out to the universe that I'm like, hey, when I'm ready, it's going to happen. And I'm going to see that person and I'm going to know,
Agreed.
But going through these apps and scrolling or whatever, it's not good for me mentally. And I don't want to do any of it.
I agree with you. I've tried to get on dating apps. I loathe it so much because it's so superficial. Like you said, most of the things that I get in my inbox is, you're so cute. Why are you on this app? And I want to be like, bitch, you're single too. Why are you asking me that? Like, clearly I'm single trying to meet somebody.
Thank you. And
but my therapist is like, why are you so angry?
And I'm like, because these people are fucking stupid.
Agreed.
Or they say, hey, I'm like, hi.
But I've also noticed the hottest ones cannot carry a conversation. You got to date down. You got to date down.
Honestly, I'm like, if I'm feeling like I'm pulling teeth and it's a one-way conversation, it's always with the hot dummies. I'm telling you.
Yeah, agreed. So we're going to kind of shift gears here. We've talked about your story and I think it's amazing. And I think what you're doing is amazing. And it'll kind of intertwine into the rest of the podcast. But I want to get into how you got into social media content creating. And then like, you're also, is it like, are you an instructor of social media? How would you label that?
Yeah. So I don't even know. Like, I'm just like, I think I just like do the social media umbrella, and I do different things within that umbrella. I guess you could say I hate the word coach. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody calls themselves a coach, and not everybody, but you know what I mean? Like, there's people who are saying that they're a coach and then they're preaching and coaching the wrong things.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
So I essentially November, I think it was 30th, 2020, I made my first TikTok. And I was like wanting to make a TikTok and was low-key judging other people who were doing it. And COVID was happening. I just needed like some kind of creative outlet. And I just started like running with it. And I had a video go viral and I was like, oh, I'm famous. I'm like, when am I going to LA? When am I quitting my job? I need an agent.
Yeah.
Like this video probably had like 5,000 views. And I'm like over here like, Mom, I think I need to get a security system put in the house in case anybody like comes and like they're trying to like, see who I am, knock on my door, whatever. Paparazzi. And I just kept doing it and it kept getting more and more bigger. And it was January of 2021. Did I say that? Was it 2020?
Yeah. You said November 2020 and then January 2021.
Yes. Oh my gosh. These past 2 years, I'm telling you, man. January, I had this first brand reach out to me and they're like, hey, we would like to pay you to make a video for us. And I'm like, you can make money doing this shit? And they're like, yeah, like we're going to send you our seltzers. We'll pay you $500 to make 2 videos. I'm like,
wow.
Done.
$500 for 2 videos?
2 videos. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I started doing more and more little brand partnerships. And then my Us Weekly and Betches were sharing my content. BuzzFeed made an article about one of my videos.
Oh my God, Kyle, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you want to go check out, they're in my highlights on my Instagram stories. But those were like my really proud moments. And at the time I was a manager for a restaurant here in St. Louis. And I was like, okay, I think I'm like a rising star. And I was like, I'm just going to go and quit my job. I'm going to have this plan. I'm going to move to Florida, get a whole new scenery and like just live my life.
Mm-hmm.
And the place that I was currently working at, they were very near and dear to my heart. It was a fabulous place. They took very good care of me. And they noticed this little build in my social media following and these people that were sharing my stuff. And I think they got a little scared that like something could happen or I was going to leave, because I'm not going to lie, I ran that place. That I was the restaurant. And that sounds bad. But
No. You were probably the personality. Like you were the personality behind the restaurant. People, when they thought of the restaurant, they probably thought of you.
Yes.
I get that. I get what you're saying.
Yes. And in March, I told them, I was like, hey, I am moving to Florida and I'm going to move in August. I wanted to give you guys months heads up, but I'm being pulled in this direction and I don't know what it is yet, but I know that I need some kind of change. And they were so accepting. And then as time went on, I just started building more and I started getting more opportunities and more ideas. And they started treating me a little differently. And after I had expressed that I was going to be leaving, and I was like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm like, I'm done. So it got to the point, it was June at this time. And I said, I can't be here anymore without giving all these details and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm quitting my job. And I had I think I had like around $3,200 in my savings account, nothing in my checking account. I literally was like, messaged my landlord and I said, hey, I just quit my job. I'm moving to Florida in August. I would love if I could leave my lease now and just save money. And they're like, yes, we can do that for you. It was like an independent landlord.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I just did everything I could to just make sure that I was supported in the way to just move forward and up. And I was like, okay, you just quit your job, Kyle. Brand partnerships. Yeah, that's great. But like, how the fuck are you going to make money? Like, what are you going to do? And I'm at my parents' house now. I'm still thinking I'm going to like move to Florida. And I get this message from someone here in St. Louis. And she was like, hey, you should reach out to this girl for an influencer opportunity. And it was Ashley Norman and it was for AN Skin Beauty. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to reach out to her. And I go to her page. I'm like, oh, she's like 204,000 followers. Yeah, I'm and I reach out to her and I'm like, hey, I do my little pitch thing. And I'm like, I would just love to represent your brand. We hit it off right away. And she and I started a brand partnership campaign deal together. And she paid me to post videos on TikTok for her brand. And I was like, okay, I really like this brand. I'm like, and a lot of people and my followers are loving it too. What can I do to be more a part of this? And she's like, well, you should be an ambassador. Done. I'll be an ambassador. At this time, I was in an influencer program learning about, how to be the best influencer, things like that. And then I was also taking a marketing course, social media management marketing course with Rachel.
Okay.
So I was trying to do all of these things to educate myself I don't even know what the hell I was going to do. I was just throwing money out to be like, okay, I'm getting educated. Like I'm going to know my shit. And then I became an ambassador. And then I was like, at the time approached by someone that I used to do an MLM with way back when, which that's a whole other layer of things. And she was like, she owns a boutique. And she was like, I need social media help. I see you're killing it on TikTok. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be a social media manager for you. So that's when I started social media managing. And I took everything that I learned from those courses, all those things. I was doing some influencer work with Ashley and then being a brand ambassador for her. And then I just started, people just saw me doing these different things and they would reach out to me. Like I was not reaching out to anybody.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was really, really cool. Just working the market that I had. And I built up this clientele. I started making great money. And then the boutique that I was with, there was some shadiness going on. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be here anymore. I'm like, I keep opening up my email and I'm getting all these emails from the Better Business Bureau. I'm like, I don't know if I should be here. So I just, again, quit. I know that probably wasn't the right thing, but I'm like,
no, that was the right thing.
When you're on social media and you're putting your name with a brand, I'm like, nope, I can't risk this.
Yeah.
And I pitched to Ashley. I said, hey, I love being an ambassador. And this program has been not even a year old. It was probably like 6 months at the time. And I was like, I would love to help build your program. Here's what I think that I can offer for you. And then we just started building from there. And now here we are. And essentially, I'm helping her grow her brand, but I'm also helping give these ambassadors tools and resources they need to confidently show up on social media. And it has just been such an incredible experience, like being able to share social media and like do things the right way.
Yeah.
All these people. And yeah, that's just like a little short recap, which I know it's not short because Kyle, you've got to tell everyone.
No, that's great. But where I wanted you, so you said that you just started doing it. Like you just made a TikTok, you just started doing it. So obviously you have a natural gift and a natural ability to just show up and put out, right? Like you're just like, well, not put out, but just show.
Well, depends on the night, honey.
But I'm like, you just show up and you do it. So then you took courses to enhance your already natural ability, which I think sets you apart, because there are some people that are like, I can be an influencer. And then they don't do well, or they'll take courses like show me how to be an influencer. And then they take them and they still don't do well.
Exactly. You're right. Because I do have an advantage. I grew up performing. I was in show choir. I was in theater. And I mean, growing up, I look back and I'm like, okay, everybody was like Kyle, like in high school, my yearbook, it's like most likely to be on SNL. It was me. So
yay, you should try to do that.
Oh, honey, I got some reality TV auditions up my sleeve kind of thing. I'm like, I want to put myself out there. That's my goal this year.
Can you say anything about that? Or you can't say yet?
Yeah. So one of them I can. This new TV production company, I guess you could say, it's called Influence Me TV. And pretty much they highlight different influencers in different categories. So it will be influencers under 50,000, and then from 50,000 to 250,000, and then 250,000 above. And we're placing these different categories. And from there, we go into this competition where we raise awareness for the JED Foundation, which is also on mental health. And are you familiar with them?
No.
Yeah. They're like really honing in on like teens and like preventing teen suicide and depression and all these different layers. And it's just a great foundation for mental health. So we are going to, raise funds, raise awareness with our followers. And that starts March 8th. And then whoever gets the most awareness, votes, things like that, top 20 to 30 people will go to Germany, and we're going to stay in this old mansion and record a reality TV series about influencers.
In Germany?
In Germany.
That would be awesome. Okay, so that's good that you brought up mental awareness, because we're going to touch on that, because you said you suffer from depression and anxiety, which I do too, which people don't think I do because I come off very confident. And I would think that people would say that about you, because what people see on social media is what they believe you are.
Yep.
They believe you're this happy, bubbly person 24/7, 100% of the time. And we had a conversation about you had an anxious moment last weekend, or some depression, which actually I was going through it too.
Oh, good.
I had to get back on my meds.
Girl, me too.
Because I was like, I thought I could come off of them because I got a new job, because I thought my job was making me depressed, and then got this new job, love my new job. But then I was like, why am I not feeling any better? Why didn't this make me happy? Why do I just want to sit on the couch all the time and not do anything? Not do my podcast, do you feel like your depression and anxiety comes from anything in your upbringing, or being gay, or being on social media all the time, or having to feel like you have to be 100% on all the time?
Yeah, a little bit of everything you just said.
Okay.
I mean, I'm telling you, girlfriend, I'm like, this podcast could be probably 4 hours long.
Oh no, that's fine. We could do part 1, part 2, part 3. If this goes on, We'll figure it out.
I mean, I mentioned parents and things like that. Like, I don't I didn't know my biological father, met him my freshman year. I think that plays a lot of things in there as well. And then just being gay, and then the layers of social media, just having to put yourself out there as someone, but like also like not like, I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm coming off as if I'm like a cry for help, but like in reality, it's not like that.
Yeah.
And I see other people sharing their mental health, and I don't look at it like that. But for some reason, when I want to go about sharing my mental health and my experiences, it's like, it's not okay. So
why would you think that?
I don't know. It's so silly. And it's something that I'm trying to open up more about. Because you're right. Like a lot of the times, like when I have those moments where I get super down, I'm like thinking to myself, like, everybody looks at you this way. Like when they think Kyle smiles with Kyle, where do you think that came from? I mean, think of me as like this like big bubbly person. And I'm like, but it's okay to not always be that person. And you need to stop preaching that to other people and start like realizing it for yourself. And it's hard, but I'm working on it.
But the accounts that I follow, and I will continue to follow, like, cause you follow some people and then you're like, I just don't believe in this anymore. I like when they come through a little bit and say, I know I'm bubbly. I know I'm a great, like I'm mostly positive, but today just sucks, guys. And I just want to let y'all know that I go through it too. Like, you're not alone. Today sucks. And this is what I'm going through. I mean, you don't have to give details. You don't have to cry on camera, but just tell your followers.
I still like, if you can be comfortable crying on the camera, I love you for it. But like, I will scroll past your video because it makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why I said, you don't have to cry on camera. Like, you don't have to do all that, but.
Right. And that's the thing. You're right. It's like, instead of me like closing myself out and like not posting on my story for 48 hours or whatever, say that, and like, you just inspired me to make a post. And like, Kyle, I won't write it down right now.
No, go ahead.
Like,
write it down if you want to write it down. But
I'm I have no idea. Like, you're right. Like, that's so
like
important.
Ashley, your boss, who has a large following, and she's been through, she started out with fitness and then she developed a skincare. She'll get on there sometimes and say, I'm just not feeling it today. So y'all just going to have to give me a break. And I like that she brings realness into her in between posts of like trying to do her skincare or her fitness or her child. Like, she brings her feelings and like what she's feeling and going through. Because that makes you a genuine person, right? It makes you real. It breaks that barrier of that social media. Like, who is Kyle? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. I have chills.
Well, I mean, I just follow accounts like that, like my personal trainer, Annie. Like, she does the same thing. Like, sure, she needs to promote her brand. She needs to promote her business coaching and things like that. But she also gets on there when she's just like, today sucks and I'm not going to be on here. And that's just what it is. If you got any questions, put it in the DM. I'll get it to it later.
Yeah. I really appreciate you saying that, because it's true too. And like, for me, I think the reason why I personally, because now that you say all that I personally don't do that as much or open up as much, because then my inbox starts being like, thinking about you, like XYZ. And I'm like, fuck, like, I don't want you to be thinking about me. I was just trying to give a quick update. Like, what do you, what I mean?
Put a box at the bottom, disclaimer, don't get in my inbox. Don't need any comments from you. This is what I'm going through.
You're right.
I mean, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying, like, if you ever feel like you want to share it. I've done it before. Well, I was drunk when I did it. I got on Instagram and I was like, let me tell y'all something. I'm not always strong, like, because I come off as this very strong, confident, don't give a fuck attitude, but really I care a lot. And that is my defense mechanism, like, to say I don't give a fuck so people don't mess with me, because I will cry in a corner somewhere.
Amen.
Because I care too much. And I got on social media one day after drinking margaritas and said all that. And then I got blown up in my DMs. Are you okay? Like, here's my number if you ever need anything. I was like, I'm not suicidal.
You're like, it's just the tequila, okay? Like, have you ever had a tequila night before? Like, ooh, been there, honey, been there.
I agree with that. No, so I wanted to touch on one last topic. And I know this podcast is all over the place, which is why I named it Babbles Nonsense, because I don't want to have one thing or a flow or whatever. So that we're going to talk about AN skincare a little bit. And because you talked about how Ashley, your boss, got you her social media marketing. So what can you tell us a little bit so my listeners know about AN skincare?
It is the best of the best. And I mean, for me, it's not even just products. It's like someone like me being able to personally work with Ashley and just see her day to day, like, and where her mind is while formulating these products or building this community. It's something that is going to stand out from everything else, and like something that's going to be really, really special for a long, long time. And a lot of these, we see a lot of these skincare brands on social media, and people are just coming out with X, Y, and Z, like Ariana Grande, for example. Like, Ariana Grande is not going in and looking at these formulations and these ingredients and making sure that X, Y, and Z is good for your skin.
She's just the face of the company to get it sold.
Exactly. And like, love the girl, like keep doing the high notes or whatever, but maybe don't dive into skincare.
Yeah.
And there's just, a lot of people they'll just like buy these products or these certain things because they see an influencer or someone sharing it. And Ashley herself, I mean, obviously she's a licensed esthetician, but she goes in and she goes to these manufacturers and makes sure to find one that she can have control over. Oh, I want this formulated. I don't want these fragrances in here. She wants to give the cleanest ingredients, cruelty-free, naturally derived, no sulfates, things like that. And to make sure that, like, one, it's good for all skin types, but two, you're getting long-lasting results. So for me, like, I just love how simple the line is, because you don't need to have a complicated skincare line. Like, a lot of the times these companies are just throwing shit out there so that you just buy it. And then you're putting all this stuff on your face and you're like, oh my gosh, why do I have all this irritation? Why are these bumps all over my face? And it's like, well, no shit, you're putting this retinol cream all over your face and then you're putting a brightening C serum on at the same time. Your skin's overwhelmed. Like, so just the education behind it, the community, the product itself, it stands out. It's a breath of fresh air for me, honestly.
Well, I think that, like, following both of y'all, I do like she's also very giving. Like when some family in St. Louis was going through something, she donated all the product or profits that she got that day to that family. And like, what was that thing that they did when they went and took a waitress a tip or something?
Oh, the pay it forward.
Yeah. Like, she's just very giving back to people. And she's like, I've messaged her before when she's done stuff before I even met you, and she responds. Like, she is like, oh, here's what I use, or, whatever. She's very responsive, which I think is very, very cool of her. Obviously, the bigger she gets, the harder it's going to be, but.
And she said, I don't care how big I get. She's like, I am going to respond to every single DM. That's like her mission.
That's
like,
good.
She makes sure that she responds to everyone. And you say that she's like very giving. I'll tell you this too. I'm moving into her basement on March 1st.
Oh my God. Hey, there's your baby right there.
I'm telling you, like, could you imagine if she had my baby? I'd be like, okay, like, my kid is set to be gorgeous. I'm gonna have a baby influencer.
That is awesome. That's.
I see like that you just need a little comfort and a little like somewhere to just stay until you can get your own place, kind of thing, and to feel more comfortable and things like that, and like just come here.
Yeah.
So her art is just.
She does, like, and you can tell it, like, it's very genuine, which I do appreciate, because you can tell when people aren't, like, we talked about Case Kenny, which we won't go there, but
we don't talk about him on this podcast. Sorry. No.
But I mean, like, we could tell, like people who try to like put it out there that they are genuine, but they're really not. Correct. So definitely want to have a part 2 eventually on this podcast where we can actually break down the products and tell people what they should get, what they shouldn't get, like what's in it. Maybe you and Ashley, maybe Ashley, but then also you've got to be a regular occurring guest.
Please. And
yes,
I could do this day after day. Like, sorry if in the beginning we were a little nervous here. Like, I'm over here like, I've never done something like this before.
Well, I'm glad I could be your first.
Thank you. First for something. I'm telling you, it's been years since anything's happened in that area, but
I just love your candor.
I
love it.
But like, I would love this. And, I think it would be a great plan for whether it be me and her together or her coming on. Like, you tell me when, and I'll be like, I'll yell upstairs, hey, you want to do a podcast?
I love it. Thank you so much for doing this. And I mean, obviously, everyone go follow him, pimp yourself out, tell everyone where they can find you.
You guys can follow me at Smiles with Kyle, Smiles with a Z on Instagram, but with an S on TikTok. The Z one was taken on TikTok for some reason. I'm like, what? Like, because I wanted it with a Z, so it would like stand out a little bit more and, make me a little spicy and edgy. But yeah, so follow me on there and DM me as well. I'm not as good as Ashley on responding to DMs, but either I'm going to bring someone on, a virtual assistant, to do it for me, or I'm going to get my ass in gear.
Well, getting your ass in gear is a little bit cheaper than hiring someone. So think that profitable.
Here I can say I'm moving into someone's basement. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to hire someone to do my, you're like, Kyle, I can already tell like that's not something you need to do right now. So thank you for that, because a lot of people don't say that.
Well, you got to bring it back down to the ground. But no, you're doing big things. You're going big places. And I'm definitely going to link all your stuff in the show notes. So if anyone needs to just click on it and you can go there, or you can just write it down if you're listening. But thank you again. And I'm going to stop the recording and then we can finish talking. Bye, guys.
Bye.